Hey there, Rappies. Rapper9198 here, and welcome to another edition of Ryan's Day Reading. Today I'll be reading chapter 16 of Imprints, titled Broken and Beautiful. So again, a little bit of a recap from the previous chapter, Rally to a Standard. It really was talking about how all of us really need to rally to like God's standard, how we helping each other, feed the hungry. I know I have to go back and look here just because it explains it much better than I could. Yeah, they referenced Matthew 25. Feeding the hungry, help welcome the stranger, clothe the naked, visit the sick and imprisoned. Doing those things is not displaying love for those around us, but we're actively displaying love for God. And that's we have to rally to God's standard there. And it really was also talking about just how, I just really like this part of, there was this part where they were really talking about how religion and politics have really caused more conflict than any other two things. I'm trying to think, where was that at? Yeah, right here, yep. Religion and politics have caused more division and sparked more conflict than any other two things since man drew his first breath. Which is exactly what I thought, and I totally agree with that. I was like, I knew it was those two. Everybody has, some people have the same, same beliefs and same religious beliefs, and definitely different political views as well. And I know everybody doesn't agree. Not everybody has the exact same beliefs in regards to those. And then also, it really talks about when we fix our eyes on the wrong standard, one set up to make ourselves look better, or give us the satisfaction of dehumanizing people we disagree with, the results are disastrous. And then I mentioned before that was really, in the case with Charlie Kirk, the man or the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk. That was what happened. That's basically what happened. He fixed his eyes on the wrong standard and set. I can't make assumptions, but it just sounds so like that, It's one where you want to make yourself look better and feel more on a higher level. But I think all it really does is it makes yourself look worse by doing that. And I think it's also the same case in abusive relationships, where usually the majority of abusive relationships, the guy is the abuser. And I'm sorry for, it, but I'm sure, a lot, men who do that grew up with it, unfortunately. And they don't feel, it makes them lose their sense of security and just makes them feel less than zero. And so they feel that the only way they can do that is if they get into a relationship to make their girlfriend or, significant other or spouse get to their level or even below that. They like to it gives them that sense of power, or that sense of being that feeling of being that they are not on the lowest level. They aren't on that like level of, you know, self-esteem or self-worth. It just to them it serves as satisfactory, but that's not the right way. Because sadly, you know, there's probably a lot of guys who do that have grown up thinking that that's the norm, and that they thought that was what they were taught, was that was actually the right thing. But there are better ways to do that. We have to be reminded that everybody is worth something. We all have lives for a reason. You have a reason to be alive. You have a purpose to serve. And that everybody, regardless of race, sexual orientation, ethnicity, we're all created in the image of God. And that when we live up to God's standards, when we love everybody, when we love ourselves and each other as God loves us, that's when amazing things happen. Because where did it say that? Yeah, because I'm trying to think, yeah. When we do all this, because when we do this, so much more becomes possible. So I really just love the message of that chapter. All right, and now we're going to go to chapter 16, Broken and Beautiful. All right, and this is beginning with a quote from Ernest Hemingway. "The world breaks everyone, and afterward many are strong at the broken places." We live in a world obsessed with appearances. Our culture celebrates the unattainable and tries to sell it as things we should have or pursue. Looks, sex, fake body parts, access in clothes and cars, homes and lifestyle. Everywhere we turn, we hear and see messages about how we should be like someone else, that who we are isn't enough. Again, all of this, I could not agree more with myself, and it's exactly what I think about when I hear a bunch of, you know, different stories on the news or something. It's like, I can definitely tell that that's what our world is like today, and we need to change that. Depression is on a continual rise. The use of anti-anxiety pharmaceuticals is at an all-time high. And each year we turn to new vices, new addictions, new possessions to fill the holes in our hearts and souls. We don't pretend to have all the answers. In fact, we have very few. But we have come face to face with a couple of undeniable truths. The first is that every person is broken in some way, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, or physically. We all have experienced and will continue to experience what it's like to not be whole. And the pain that comes with such struggles, the loss of a loved one, the slow progression of a debilitating disease, trauma, abuse, disability, drug addiction, unemployment, divorce, often becomes a focal point for our lives, voids we try to fill. Yeah, and all this could not apply more to today. Like, I feel it applies to today, to these times more than ever. And again, that's another reason I'm doing this, the videos that I do. the journaling videos, the workout videos, because I can tell it's like we have struggles and we're trying to figure out ways to deal with it or to cope with it. Like for me, I know it's just, like maybe on the job stress, stresses from work in general. When you have, stressful things, like I remember with when my dad passed away, I had my journal and also my videos here, which really helped serve as it was soothing to me. It was an outlet for me to have, and it was and to me a positive outlet. And I'm trying to use that, turning the pain into purpose in a way. Because my dad always supported me with doing my videos and journaling, and so I want to help influence other people. That's that's probably the least I can do in return, is to influence others to do to do the same thing or something similar. And do it, for journaling, do it any way you like. If you can write, fine, you could type it, and you don't even have to write words. Just scribble on a piece of paper. I keep explaining that. I keep expressing that over and over, and I cannot express it enough there. And it does feel good when I can do that, and hopefully, I can only do what I can on my part. And then it's up to you guys to decide if you want to take that advice or not. But I hope at least the majority of people will. So yeah, all those different things, all these different struggles becomes focal points in our lives, and they're voids that we try to fill, or we try to find ways to cope with them. However, so much beauty can be found in these hard times. Beauty in the struggle, beauty in the pain, beauty in overcoming each challenge we face. This brings us to the second, but more challenging truth. It is only within our brokenness that we can find our true beauty. But to discover this, we can't run from our brokenness. Instead, we must embrace it. We must run to it head first, arms open, owning all of who we are. But we can't do it alone. For more than 25 years, Justin, so this is Justin talking again, for more than 25 years, Justin, in parentheses there, have battled a progressive neuromuscular disease. My immune system attacks my motor nerves and my muscles shut down. I have progressed from using braces to a cane, spent nearly a decade using a manual wheelchair, and now I live life from a power wheelchair. I can't feed myself. I have to have someone help me to go to the bathroom. And every morning, my wife has to dress me. I can't even lift my hand to my face to wipe sweat from my brow or scratch an itch on my leg. Some people look at me and see a wheelchair. Others see a cripple, in quotes there. Some pity me as someone stricken with disease, while others see me as a burden for those around me. When people look at me, many see someone who is different from them, and sometimes they're not sure what to do with what they see. It's our differences that often make us feel alone. Some are like mine, physical in nature. Others rise from life choices or belief systems. But the fact that we are all broken in our different ways can and should be the very thing that unites us. Yep. Yeah, because we can't just think of broken as in a physical form. It's when you're in regards to human nature, feeling broken is not just a physical thing, it's a mental, emotional thing too. While I may not be whole, the hard parts of my life have given me some of my most cherished moments. My brokenness has taken me to places I never knew I could go and has led me into the arms of people I never knew of has led me into the arms of people I never dreamed of meeting. Life's adventures have taught me many things. They have helped shape my perspective as a friend, spouse, and parent. But it's the people I encounter that teach me the most. When I first lost the use of my upper body, my wife and I were living in San Diego, California, with our 3 children. Up to that point, I had been a freelance graphic designer, working from home. Each morning, I would transfer myself from my bed to my wheelchair, shower, get dressed, enjoy breakfast with my family, and work the rest of the day at my desk. I didn't have my legs, but my hands and mind were strong. But during the winter of 2010, I went from being able to care for myself to being dependent in every way. My disease, known as multifocal acquired motor axonopathy, or MAMA for short, MAMA for short, had plateaued for many years, only affecting me from the waist down. But over the span of 6 weeks, I lost most of my upper body. Our house was mildly accessible, and we had made it work for my manual wheelchair. But suddenly we needed a new bathroom because I could no longer transfer myself into the shower. We didn't have the money for a remodel and were desperate for help, but we weren't sure where to turn. We didn't have to look far. Friends from our rallied people from the community. Friends of ours rallied people from the community. Some were from our church, while others were strangers to us. And with the help of volunteer contractors and vendors donating materials, we had a new accessible bathroom within a few short months. Yep. And again, I love that quote there. The fact that we are all broken in our different ways can and should be the very thing that unites us. Yeah, I love that. That's really something to really take to heart too. This was one of the first times I recognized that pain and suffering are often what brings people together. Sometimes in the darkness, we are at our finest. My home was filled with people who believed differently and lived differently, but they saw my need as a point where they could come together, united by love and compassion. Sometimes it's through our own suffering that we see the beauty with which God made us. Let me say that again. Sometimes it's through our own suffering that we see the beauty with which God made us. Other times, it's through partnering in the pain with others that we get a glimpse of heaven. Patrick and I have the pleasure of speaking to audiences far and wide. And yeah, these guys came and spoke to my college at Bethel. And that's where I got the books from. Sometimes we find ourselves in churches, other times in prisons, but most of the time at conferences for businesses and organizations. Regardless of the venue and the clientele, the people we meet all have 3 things in common. They are in pain, they want the pain to go away, and they're looking for hope. After each event, we spend time meeting the attendees, listening to their stories, sharing tears as we hear about loss and pain of all kinds. Women who have experienced the worst kind of trauma, parents facing death as disease ravages their bodies, children dying from leukemia, men and women left in wheelchairs, much like mine, because of accidents, families struggling with unemployment, couples suffering broken marriages, and the list goes on. With each story, we ask, how are you doing? And most of the time, we learn of people who have rallied around the individual, guiding them through the pain with patience and grace, setting differences aside because there are more important things than those that divide us. That's another thing I said. I know religion and politics definitely tend to divide us. And as I said, there's more things to life than that. There are more important things than those that divide us. Sometimes it's family, other times a spouse, and still others friends who understand what it means to truly love. We have seen so much beauty rise from the brokenness. The holes that leave so many hearts barely beating are filled with relationships, love, and compassion, and those hearts continue on, fueled by the only thing that will mend our cracks and heal our wounds. We wouldn't wish such painful experiences on anyone, but we have seen firsthand the wonder and beauty God's love brings from them. In the moments where we choose to fill the voids in our brothers and sisters with compassion and mercy, when we choose not to fear the things that make us different from one another and view them as opportunities to unite us, this is where real beauty lies. Again, in the moments where we choose to fill the voids in our brothers and sisters with compassion and mercy, when we choose to not to fear the things that make us different from one another and view them as opportunities to unite us, this is where real beauty lies. But the reality is that for every story of pain countered with people rising up to carry the burden of another, there are stories of shattered lives with no one close by, no one ready to step in or step up. People who are broken but seen as different. People who aren't helped because of past choices, addictions, sexual orientation, or differing beliefs. I can't imagine what my wife and I would have done if a host of people hadn't made a choice to love us in our time of need, regardless of our differences. Our culture is desperate for a change in focus, a shift from trying to fill our own emptiness with consumption to being the means of filling others' emptiness. Just a few months ago, Patrick and I met a couple in their late 70s at an event. We struck up a conversation and soon learned they were both on their second marriage. The woman's first husband died from cancer, and the gentleman's first marriage had ended after he had suffered a stroke, causing extreme weakness on his left side. He told us the story of his first date with his second wife. As they enjoyed dinner, the man said, "I wasn't sure you would want to go on a date with me." "Why wouldn't I?" the woman asked. Holding up his limp left arm with his strong and unaffected right hand, he said, "Because I'm not whole." She reached across the table, took his weak left hand in her own, and said, This is what makes you whole. Our brokenness is what God uses to bring us together. Our world needs a new generation of men and women ready to embrace one another's pain and suffering, but they need someone to lead the way. As parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers and mentors, the men and women of today have remarkable power and influence over the shaping of the men and women tomorrow. Again, it's like it knows exactly what is going on. I love it. Yes, our world does need a new generation of men and women ready to embrace one another's pain and suffering. Again, I cannot say it enough, but I love their words here. The children in our lives are looking to us for direction, and their understanding of how to love and give selflessly will depend on how we love and give. Our society is filled with messages that scream, "Be like him," or "dress like her." Through news and politics that propagate fear and dissension, differences have become focal points for conflict and pain rather than something to celebrate. And that could not be any further from the truth. Why does it have to be that way? Why is it for conflict and pain? Why? But stepping into conversations about differences with love and grace is one of the most important and formative things we can do for the children we love. So, where do we start? We begin by acknowledging that we are all different and that our differences shouldn't be feared but embraced. We start by recognizing that we are all broken in our own way, and that from our brokenness can come so much beauty. Beauty in overcoming challenges together. Beauty in others doing for us what we can't do on our own. Beauty in lifting others up, knowing that they will one day do the same for someone else. In Matthew 25, as Jesus tells the parable of the goats and the sheep, he gives us essential guidelines for how we should live and lead our children. Feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, invite the stranger in, clothe the naked, care for the sick, visit the imprisoned. Because we are all hungry and thirsty, hungry for love, thirsty for purpose. We will all be a stranger at some point in time, outcast because of the way we think, live, or believe. We will all be stripped naked by life's circumstances and experience sickness. And we all are or have been prisoners to something. Fear, weakness, addictions, a diagnosis. We are all broken in our different ways. But when we come together to carry each other, we are beautiful. The image God created us in, his own, shines brightly when we love as he does, as he loves. Again, the image God created us in, his own, shines brightly when we love as he loves. The greatest beauty we can ever experience is only made real through our brokenness. But do we do What do we do to counter the negative impact our culture has on future generations? We embrace our differences through love and teach our children that we are all broken and beautiful. Every person we meet is broken, and every one of us can be a source of love, grace, mercy, and compassion that makes the broken places the strongest points in their lives. It is only through our brokenness that the power and love of God can be fully known. All right, and that concludes chapter 16. Again, man, I know in regards to all this is like exactly what I'm thinking. It's just I could never have said any of that better myself. And that's like, again, I don't understand why we make it a focal point for conflict. Why do people, just because it's not your own, it doesn't mean it's not normal, or it's not, or, you know, it may not be something, or it's maybe not, it's not something that you're used to. But, you know, I'm sure different cultures exist for a reason. Yeah, God created the human race, and then humans created the division. You know, so you can't try to blame God for any of that. And I don't know what you guys, I don't know, people who watch this, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, and I'm sorry if it's something that you don't agree with, and it's okay to disagree with it, but still, why does it have to make you angry? Like, don't like, forget the religious aspect. Like, don't you just want to live in a world where we can depend on others and be able to trust others and just be able to feel just to feel that love and comfort, and not live in, and not have fear, or at least not as much fear or anxiety, and like, think about that. Or just because somebody's in a wheelchair, you can't jump to conclusions. Or if you're gonna make assumptions or judgments like that, keep it to yourself. Don't actually say it out loud. Because you never know what somebody has gone through, or the reason why someone might be in a wheelchair. Or just, or if somebody has a disability, it doesn't mean they're not smart. Because I work with people with disabilities, and I know for sure that none of them are not smart. All of them are very smart people, and they're capable of so much more than you could ever know. Like, they're just as capable as you. They just need a little extra help in some places. And and it's not their fault that they have a disability. Some people it's some that they're born with, some they have gotten from an accident. Imagine if you were in that position. Would you want someone making generalizations about you or making assumptions about you? Put yourself in their shoes. Maybe try living for a day in a wheelchair and see how it is. I know, you're probably thinking, oh, it's easy for you to say this because, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say. Yes, and it is easy for me to say. But for how long I've worked at Achieve and how long I've been working with people with disabilities, and also being friends with people who have, like, you know, my friend David who has Down syndrome, and also the other, you know, I have a whole group of friends from college who I'm still friends with and hang out with. All of them have Down syndrome. But again, you know, the Down syndrome or disabilities is not their definer. It doesn't define them in any way whatsoever. So, again, hope you guys really take this stuff to heart and really apply it every day in any way you can. I'm really trying to work on it more myself in some ways. Like, I'm still trying to work, like, just, you know, I mean, I'm good at this part. I'm good at not making assumptions or something. But, I mean, like, just, I'm really trying to work more on, like, just saying, you know, telling, like, we have custodial staff at my work and saying, you know, hey, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the work you do cleaning up, helping to clean up and keep the place clean. God bless you for doing that. You know, I even wrote cards to my coworkers. This afternoon I wrote little cards to them, and, you know, left them also like a Hershey's Kiss on it, just as a way to say thank you. Like, I know it's not the same as doing it right to their face, but also my work is doing something, because tomorrow is mental health day, or mental health awareness day, and so they want us to do certain things. Like, one thing is to make do something to show appreciation for somebody, and, you know, I really try to really express my appreciation for everybody everyone does at my work, for everyone does at work. And, you know, everybody out there, and I want to say here, you know, you guys who I'll probably never meet, but whatever your job is, thank you for doing it. Because all work is honorable work, and know that somebody appreciates you for what you do, whether it be a doctor, a nurse, a police officer, a firefighter, a janitor. Thank you very much. You know, a banker, accountants, lawyers, you know, whatever your occupation is, somebody appreciates you and thanks you for what you do. All right, well, thank you, Rappies, again very much. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Stay tuned for next time. We'll go into the 17th and final chapter of Imprints, make something new. Yep, so again, thank you, Rappies, very much. I love you all to death, and God bless. And until next time, I'll see you later. Okay, bye.